Hello, everybody. Welcome to another very special episode of Carlton People. Now, today I've got Debby Palti with me. Debbie, how are
Yes,
we?
we are good. It's a beautiful sunny day outside. My window's open. The heat, it's just stunning. It's just
Natural
stunning.
light coming in this room has never been better.
I know.
I'm looking outside the window right now. I cannot see a cloud. To be fair, it's much needed for us Melburnians to see
Yes,
something go right.
yes, exactly. It's beautiful. It's warm. It's stunning. I've had to close my blind because the sun comes directly in, so I would have been whited out. So, yeah, it's just beautiful. It's just gorgeous. Love it.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to have a chat with me. I really enjoy these episodes because everyone's Carlton story is similar, but they're also very unique in their own way, and how you get to where you are today. So let's kick things off. Give us the audience a bit of an insight. Where does your Carlton story begin?
Well, I was born in England. I was a child in England, and we came here. When we came here, I was a mad football fan. I used to go to the matches. I was just mad. And when we came to Australia, I used to play soccer over there. When we came to Australia, soccer was not big here. They had this game called football. I thought, what the hell is this football? Footy. I had no idea. And then I'm sitting with my brothers and we're watching on television this game. And that's when I fell in love with the game. And it was just mind blowing. I just thought, oh my God, soccer. I just love this game. And the two teams that were playing were Carlton and Richmond.
Right.
And the team that I supported in England was Chelsea. And their nickname, the Blues. So when they said on the television, Carlton Blues, well, that's it. That's what I supported. And I've been supporting them ever since. And I actually found the footy record on eBay of that very match, and it's framed and sitting up in my room, with my other Carlton memorabilia. But yeah, that's how my source. I went to most matches when it was only VFL, so I've been a footy fanatic.
Wow.
Since we came here.
It's interesting. We were talking just before we started. We were talking about when I was in Israel, and when you meet people who have never seen AFL, never seen a game, and then they see it for the first time, and that initial reaction of, what is this? And you sort of you empathize. You think, like, obviously I've grown up. I know all about footy. I know exactly what's going on. But then when I take a step back, when you look at the game and you think to yourself, you've got 80,000 people around watching this gladiatorial type spectacle. It's like there's so much going on. And I remember watching a game with a Canadian friend of mine. It was his first game, and the umpire bounced the ball, as they do when they start the game, and he couldn't stop laughing. He's like, what is going on? Why is he bouncing the ball?
Well, we had friends from the US come over, and they'd heard about this game and they wanted to see it. So I took them, this was years ago, to a game, and it was Gold Coast when Gold Coast were terrible, and Carlton when they were much better. And I took them to a game because I knew then I could sit behind the goalpost and I could explain it to them, because it was a fast-pacing game. I said, there's no way I'm going to explain it to you. So I'm sitting there explaining it to them. They couldn't believe the speed of the game, and they couldn't believe the athleticism of the players. And also they kept saying every 5 minutes, but they've got no padding on. They've got no padding on. I said, no, they don't. But they have no padding on. And the marks that they were taking and the tackles, and they kept saying, but there's no padding, because in the NFL, they wear all the padding. They loved it. They absolutely thought it was an incredible game. They said, we have no idea what's going on, but it's incredible.
It's a drug. It's exhilarating.
It is.
It is. It's a fast-paced game. It's got it all. The athletes need to have all sorts of skill sets now. Strength, speed, dexterity, the whole package. So, yeah, that's interesting. So, did you say it was 1987? Was that the Carlton Richmond game?
No. Oh no, this was back in the 70s.
Back in the 70s. Okay.
Yeah. So it was a Carlton Richmond game, and my brother, one of my brothers supports Carlton, and my other one supported Richmond.
What happened to him?
Pardon? I know.
What happened to him?
He's a Tottenham Hotspurs supporter. So for some reason he said, I'm not going to go to the Blues, because that means if I go to support the Blues, it means I'm going to be supporting Chelsea. So I don't understand. That's fine, but that's all right. That's
Look,
okay.
we all have our flaws.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So, who are your first? I mean, you get here, you watch the game, you love the game, you fall in love, you learn the game. Who were the first few, players that you really latched onto that you took a liking to?
Besides Brucey Dool,
Yeah,
I
everyone
love.
says Bruce Dool. Everyone.
You just see the way he marked the ball, and I love the Dominator. I loved him, and I just there was so many. I'm not one of these people who likes to pick a number and that I'll stick with that number and everything like that. But I just love watching players who have a go, who are not necessarily forwards. I'm not a big much of a forward. I like the player who's dodges around the back. And my first Guernsey that I ever got was that I actually felt a compassionate affinity with was Eddie Betts when he first came. And I've even still got that number 19 top from when he first came. So, and when he left, I just I said, that's it. I'm not going to ever wear a number 19 again. I can't do that. But thank goodness he came back for a while. But yeah, so I loved my hero. And the only ever time I have ever got starstruck for anybody, because I met a few celebrities as well, was with Craig Bradley.
Right.
I met him, I think it was last year or the year before, and he was just, we were chatting about football, about from the 70s and 80s, and I told him, I said, I had a very special memory of you. He lives near where I live, and I saw him locally, and I got one of my sons to go to the bookstore and get a book. And he said, and he happened to find the first 100 years of, or the 100 years of Carlton Football Club. And there's a double-page spread of Craig Bradley. And I went up to him and I said, can you sign it for me? He said, absolutely. He signed both of them. So that's framed and sitting on my wall. He's just the most, and I told him, I said, you were just so nice. You didn't have to, but you are just my hero. Because he's just, I mean, every team needs a Craig Bradley.
Yeah. He, I feel like over the journey and even through this series, people who grew up watching Bruce Dool and the Dominator, and by the way, they're the first two names that always come up.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
Whenever I speak to someone who's lived in that era, they always mention those two. But yeah, I don't know.
Because I remember them like down at Waverley Park, where you probably have never been down there, but if you can imagine cold at the MCG, double the wind chill down at Waverley Park, and it was a quagmire. But seeing them slide through the muds and seeing them get up and the way they play, it was just you see them running around the way it was, and they weren't professionals back then.
Yeah.
So seeing that it was just exciting to see. It was just brilliant.
Yeah. Absolutely. So you used to go to, the VFL, as you said. So you were going to Victoria Park, Waverley, all of those
Princess
games.
Park. I've been to all of them. I even went to watch Collingwood play because I've got a sister and she was a Collingwood supporter. And I remember she was younger. She's younger than me, and it was Carlton Collingwood, and we were sitting behind the goals. I was sitting with all these Collingwood supporters, but I felt safe. And we couldn't see because at that time there was no reserved seating, so we couldn't see. So the Collingwood supporters had these slabs of beer, and they would pile them up, and they'd say, hey, you stand on those, and we'll take them when we're ready. So we were standing on these slabs of beer so we could see the game.
Wow.
It was just incredible. I don't think you're ever going to get that type of level of support.
No, because, as you said, they weren't professional back then on the field. And in some respects, the off-field wasn't as professional or what is now called corporate as what it is today. And, obviously we played Collingwood a few weeks ago at the time of filming this video.
Yes.
And I was going through and chatting to some people, and they were recounting the stories about being scared to go to Vic Park because of the Collingwood fans would roll us up, spit on us, burn our beanies, throw VB cans, all sorts of madness.
I've never had a problem, and I've been to many games, sports. I've been to the tennis. I've been to, when we were in the US, we went to the NBA basketball. I've been to the ice hockey. I've been to all of those. I've been to the soccer.
Yep.
the safest sport I've ever been to, besides the tennis, that's not really, you wouldn't call it. But anyway, the safest sport I've ever been to would be the footy.
Yeah.
You don't feel safe going to the soccer in England. You have
No.
to put all your supporter stuff in the bag. You can't walk around with it, painted faces. You go to the NBA, it's just a different atmosphere. And you go to the ice hockey, that's just a different. But even the people from America, when they came and they saw the footy, they said they just love the atmosphere. It's just incredible atmosphere. They said they don't get that anywhere else. It's just brilliant. That's why I love the footy.
Yeah, and we've got the cheer squad as well, which
Yes.
is I think the concept of a cheer squad is not unique in world sport.
No.
But it is quite different how we do it here with the AFL. So what's your experience with the cheer squad? Look at you smiling as soon as I say it.
Because I love it. I love being in the cheer
it's great.
squad. Yeah, I love being in the cheer squad. I just absolutely love it. I mean, I used to have a membership, and I still do, captain's clubs. I was sitting on the away games at the third level, and I used to go to the games a lot by myself, even for the past many years, just go by myself, because my kids aren't as mad footy fanatics as I am, and they know it. So I'm quite happy to go by myself. And I always wanted to be part of that. So then I contacted the cheer squad, and I managed to come in. And then when I sat with them a few times, I just love it. I love the whole atmosphere, the vibe. We look after each other. But I love the fact that when we kick a goal, the cheers, and everybody looks to the cheer squad to get that atmosphere going.
Yes. No, you're spot on. You're spot on. It's I'm getting a little reminiscent of just being at a game, because you're right. Kick a goal, you look at the cheer squad, you see what's going on there, you wait for the chant to start, whatever it's going to be, and you wait to hear what's going to happen.
Yeah. It's like, I remember, I think, was it last year or a few years ago, when Daisy Thomas wrote a comment saying, the umpires are against us. And when an umpire decision went against us, which we didn't think was correct, instead of saying, calling the umpires' names and everything, we used to chant out Daisy's right. And then you'd look around you and you'd see everybody else standing up chanting the same thing, Daisy's right. So I think that emotion that you get, and when you score a goal, and the cheers that you get when you look around the ground, when we've been down and out and we cheer and nobody else does, but then all of a sudden everybody stands up and cheers, it's actually it gives you tingles.
Yeah.
It's just incredible.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, it's one of those few things in life, going to the footy, where you can celebrate such a simple thing like a leather ball being kicked in between two posts, and it can bring out, you can be sitting next to someone you've never met and you probably will never see again, and you can hug them with every fibre of your being and love them in that moment.
I've been to some games where I remember before I was in the cheer squad, I was sitting in front of a guy, and the language that came out of him was just incredible. But when you talk to them during the quarter time, he was a professor at a university. and you sit and you talk to him, but the moment the balls bounced and the siren goes and the whistle, it's completely different. But you talk to them as if you're best friends. It's like that when you walk on the street and I wear my Carlton stuff, and people are saying, go Blues, and you start talking to them. But he has this incredible way of just bringing people together. I just love it.
No, that's great. It's so good to hear. It's so great to hear what the cheer squad has done, not just from a game day perspective. It's so much more than that, isn't it?
Yeah, well, we do. We recently, like this year, when we had this incident with Eddie Betts and the trolling on of Eddie Betts, and we actually had a raffle online, purely online, because we can't go to the games. And we raised so much money that we donated it to two of his charities. We donated that money to two of his charities. We sponsor players. We're part of the, when they have the respect round, we make sure that we're at least all in orange. And there's a whole lot of other things. And we encourage people to come on who are not part of the cheer squad to become as if they're involved in the actual game day things. So if somebody wants to come on ground, we'll bring them on ground. If they're old enough, if they want to come off, even if they have little kids, we'll try and squeeze them into the the parade, the guard of honor that the players do. So it's not just about cheering and everything. It's just, we're a big family.
Yeah. No, for sure. Talk to me about some of your favourite days, game days. I mean, there's so many. I'm sure there's so many, but any particular games, wins, finals, grand finals, whatever it
I,
is.
I've got two stories, two stories that stick out into my mind. That
Yep.
one was, when during the Essendon drug scandal, we had to beat Port Adelaide.
Mm.
I was actually in at Port Adelaide. We were in Port Adelaide. My husband's a Hawthorn supporter. We were in
Right.
Port Adelaide. I was there, and we got tickets, and we're sitting there. And I'm sitting there. And half time, my husband says to me, "Do you want to go?" Because I never leave half time. We were getting thrashed. We were getting this. I said, "No, I'll wait till third quarter," because we had tickets to a show that night. And they started coming back, and he said, but I think it was about the last 10 minutes of the match. He said, "I don't think you're going to do it." I said, "Oh, we got 10 minutes. We'll wait 10 minutes."
We're here now.
Pardon?
We're here now. We might as well.
And can I tell you, the atmosphere when we won, because we won, I was in tears. I mean, literally, I was hugging people that I've never seen before in my entire life, and they'll probably never see again. It was just an incredible feeling to know that we'd beaten them despite all odds and came back and won. It still gives me tingles thinking about it. And the other time was last year when we played Sydney. When we played Sydney, I travelled up to that game, and we couldn't put the banner up because of the wind. It was just incredible. So no banners could go up at all because it was just too windy. And it wasn't a game, even though we'd won, it was a great game. Coming back, I was sitting in the Virgin Lounge, and our plane had been delayed, and I was flying back with the players.
Wow.
And there was Harry McKay and Liam Jones were watching an Essendon match, and it was down to the wire on their iPhones. And David Teague comes in and has a look, and he said, "I can't see this match on this phone." And I said, "Well, I'm watching it on my iPad. Do you want to sit? Would you like to sit and watch it?" So I'm sitting there watching it with him, and I said to him, I after chatting to him, I knew that he would be the next coach because he was just incredible. But chatting to him about his vision and about how he sees the game that was won, and also the game moving forward, what the players should be, was just an incredible moment, because it was just, you could see the way he interacts with the players and the personnel. It was just incredible. It made that Sydney win even better.
Knowing that he was there and knowing what he was all about and getting to see
knowing
that.
what he was all about, understanding what he was all about. But I know that's not really we won, but because the conditions were terrible. Like, you would try to kick the ball and the wind would carry it, so you had to counteract. But talking to him in the way he spoke to the players and about the win, about not getting too big-headed about everything, was just what you see on television, the calmness. That's what he's like in real life. It's just incredible.
Yeah.
It was an incredible win.
Yeah. Well, that's probably a good segue into the next part, because obviously you've seen some wonderful years, a wonderful era.
Yes.
We've gone through our challenges. We are now,
to say the least, yeah.
to put it lightly.
Yeah.
We've gone through our challenges a couple of times. We are now seemingly coming out of the darkness once again. What are you seeing from this? Not just the group, but the club. What are your observations?
I think we're heading in the right direction. I said at the beginning of the year to people, I said, I don't see us in the top 8 this year. I don't want to be in the top 8 this year, because we're getting back on our feet again. I mean, we had the issue with Brett Ratton being sacked, who I thought should never have been sacked. Then we had this knee-jerk reaction of getting, which I think was a very arrogant get, of getting Mick Malthouse, because he was only there for one reason, and you knew that based on after he'd got his record. He turned around and said to the club, threw down the gauntlet and said, "What are you going to do for the rest of the year?" So the moment he got that record, he was only in it for himself, and he took the club away from the fans, from the supporters and the members. He took it away from them. You couldn't go and watch them training. You couldn't interact with them. He took that away. And then you got Brendan Bolton with Stephen Silvani, and they rebuilt the club and they gave it back to the supporters. They gave the club back to the supporters. The problem with Bolton is I don't think he could take that next step. I don't think he had that experience to take that next step. And then when he was sacked halfway through, you weren't there because when they had the I think it was the 1979 celebration luncheon. I don't know if you were, you were here? Okay. They introduced David Teague, and by then he'd won a few games, the club after taking over. I've never seen every person ever in my entire life, including ex-players, stand up and give him a standing ovation. So I knew then that he was going to be the club, because what he's done here is the way he stated that he was just going to let the players play the game their way, meant that and giving it back to the supporters, because without supporters you have nothing.
That's right.
And that's what that's what he did last year. The open trainings, the town, you go to open training, there was always open training. The way he would actually speak to the players and speak to the supporters as well. He was not one of somebody who says, I'm the coach, I'm that far away from you. He would speak to them, he would chat to you. He just brought the club to be a cohesive club where the culture was all about doing it together and getting success. Brilliant.
Yeah. No, I love it. I think you've summarised that really well. With the Mick Malthouse thing up until right now, the way you explain it makes sense. I've sort of more taken the stance of, well, end of the day, club's responsible, club made the decision. Hindsight's a wonderful thing. We know what Hardwick and Bomber Thompson were able to do with that extra couple of years if they just held firm. Who knows what would have happened with Rats. I originally sort of said, look, the club are responsible and we have to take accountability.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't help. I actually didn't realise, and I didn't know that the open training sessions were shut when Mick was around. I didn't know that. I was still. I was obviously still in Melbourne, but I wasn't going to open training sessions. I must have been at either school or work or whatever the case was. So that's interesting. But it's and obviously being in the cheer squad, you're right in the thick of it. So for you to have that insight, not that you're right on the inside, but I think you're as close to the inside as a fan can get without being an employee.
But the thing with Malthouse is the number of players that left because of him. I don't think I can ever. I actually met him when I was in Port Adelaide because he coached that Port Adelaide game. So I actually met him, and he was a really nice guy. And I thought, okay, maybe he is going to be great. But then he showed his true colours. So I just think he put a wall between the club and the supporters. And no club should put a wall between the club and the supporters, because as this year is showing, without the supporter base, without those members paying their membership, you don't have a club.
Yeah, exactly right. So as we move into the rest of 2020 and pre-season trade talk, the whole debacle comes up, and there's all sorts of things happening in off-season, and we look to 2021. What are you looking at? What's the number one priority for you going into season 2021 that we've got to add from this year?
Stamina.
Yeah.
If we need to play 4 solid quarters and not 3.5, not 3, not 2. We need to play 4 solid quarters. And I think moving into 2021, we need more help for Cripper down in the midfield. We've got our back line. Our back line is sorted. We've even got a forward. Would love to get another small forward in there, more small midfield that can kick goals. But with Curnow, Charlie coming back, and you've got Harry McKay, who is just an incredible revelation down forward. If only he could kick the bloody goals. But you know what? I had a discussion with somebody about that.
Okay.
How old is Harry McKay? Is 22 years old. How old is Tom Hawkins? Tom Hawkins is in his 30s.
Yeah, early 30s.
I think when you having had 3 boys, when you have somebody that tall, that young, it's going to take time for the brain to get to the limbs and say, this is what I want to do.
It's that old notion of the ruck when they're a little slower than the midfielders,
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
Yeah.
I actually think Harry McKay has got the potential. And same with Charlie, but Charlie's been injured. But I think Harry McKay's got incredible potential because his agility around the ground is just incredible. As for a tall guy to actually be down on the ground and to get the ball and it's just in his tackling, it's just incredible, and his ability to mark. He just got to slot those goals in. He's just got to have a lot more confidence in his ability. So I don't see, we've got holes that need to be plugged. Unfortunately, I don't see Cruiser being re-signed. Unfortunately, because I love him.
Yeah.
You've got TDK, who's proving to be an incredible player in the ruck. You've got Pitternet, who is just a revelation. So I don't think Cruiser's needed. Whether the only other issue is, well, Murphy's re-signed, is whether we keep Betts and Simo. My personal feeling is we need the experience of those players on the ground because they add a level of experience of telling a young playing group, calm down, this is what needs to be done. You take that away, you don't have that. They just get lost.
Yeah.
I mean,
They also bring the Carlton. I mean, they've seen so much of the club, and you know, sometimes you need, you know, Bob Murphy was that for the Doggies later in his career. You know, Shannon Hearn is that for the Eagles. These elder statesmen pass down the messages such as what it means to play against Collingwood, what it means to play against Essendon, what it means to play the Carlton way, what it means to be a Carlton person.
But look at North Melbourne when they got rid of all those the four of their great players.
Yeah.
What happened to the club then? You can't rely on players in their early 20s or even mid 20s to have that experience. I mean, Cade Simpson, I don't know what he's made of, but he's got to be some sort of metal in there because he's just incredible.
Yeah.
He's just, I know he has his patches, but his ability to guide the players and the back line down back is just incredible. You shouldn't get rid of that. Eddie Betts is a question mark for me. I thought he should be, but I hope we can. But it also depends on how many we get in our playing list group because they're going to drop that number as well.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Well, I like to ask this question before I let everyone go. Everyone gets the same question, and we'll look back on this in 5, 10, 20 years as the prediction. When are we lifting up Premiership number 17? What year?
2022.
2022.
Yeah. I don't think
Yeah.
we'll be there. I think we will finish, as I said this beginning of this year, I said we will finish in the top half of the bottom 8. That's where I want us to be.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want us to be a Western Bulldogs, where we get a premiership and then we slide down for the next. I want to be the Hawthorn.
Yeah.
League.
Yeah.
So this is a great growth year. I think 2021 we should be in the bottom half of the top 8. If we're up further, fantastic. But I think 2022 should be the year where we will get us 17. I'm hoping. That's what I'm hoping.
Yeah, no, that's okay. It's very common. I don't think anyone's gone past 2024. It's usually one of the three of 22, 23, or 24. It's the general consensus. As I think this is episode number 32. So of all 32, everyone has said one of those 3 years. So we'll see what happens.
I don't expect. I mean, I don't know. Because of the match we played last week, people were saying, Teague needs to go. He's dropped the ball. People don't understand. This is his first year as a senior coach. What are you saying? You can't expect a senior. He took over last year. It wasn't his first year this is his first year of molding a team, and we've got incredible talent there. They just need to play together a lot more, and they need to learn to not panic.
Yep. Well, he said the quote he said after he's been saying it all year. The quote of making the right decisions consistently under pressure. That's really what it is. And I hope it does come. I think it will come with experience. I think it comes as the more times you put yourself in that situation, the better. So let's see what happens. But Debbie, thank you so much for your
Thanks,
time. I've really
Terry.
enjoyed this. It's great. It's great to chat with you. And I'm looking forward to seeing you in the flesh.
Yes. Well, when we get to go to matches, hopefully, fingers crossed, which will be hopefully next year, fingers crossed. But yes, I'll be there in the cheer squad.
I'll come down for a yarn.
Yes, absolutely. Looking forward to it, Terry.
Love it, Debbie. Go Blues, hey?
Go Baggers. Yes, go Blues.